Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our annual Prostate Cancer Awareness event. It's hosted by our Martha's Vineyard branch of the NAACP. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Lorna Chambers Andrade, a retired professor and former Martha's Vineyard branch NAACP Health Education Chair. Tonight, I'm the co-moderator of this event. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you my pastor from the United Methodist Church of Martha's Vineyard, Joanne Huss. And she's going to give us a prayer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lorna. I really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me once again to this very important event. This prayer is written by Cole Arthur Riley, and it's from Black Liturgies, which is one of my favorite books, as Tony knows. God of every ache, help us to befriend our bodies. We confess that it is easy to turn against them as the source of our struggle. Awaken a compassion, a tenderness toward the parts of us that are changing or hurting, remembering that our bodies are doing everything they can to protect us, that our bodies are fighting, are trying their best to hold back the pain and exhaustion. And with every ailing and unseen thing, guide us toward those capable of listening and perceiving when we are not okay, that we wouldn't feel pressure to pretend or apologize or explain, but could exist in the truth of what we need. Remind us that we are not a burden, but a beacon to those who are so poorly attuned to their bodies and needs that they have, that they've forgotten what self-compassion looks like. Hold us in love as we resist the demands of this world. May it be so.
Thanks be to God, and thank you so very much for that wonderful prayer. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you our co-moderator, Dr. Robert Tankard. He's host of the Tank Talk on MVTV and director of the Veterans Services here on Martha's Vineyard. Few words from you, Bob.
Yes. Listen, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Dr. Andrade and Dr. Stern for allowing me to participate in this program. And this program over the last 3 to 4 years have been highly important, and especially to many African-American men. Well, I can remember when we first started, when we had our first Tank Talk way back,
Yes.
that it brought to the attention how many African-American men didn't take serious prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. And since this program and the information that has gone out from Dr. Stern's office and organization, I know that from a veteran's point of view, I have brought this attention to all my veteran men. And I've told them to, when they had their doctor's appointments, to make sure you get checked out, make sure you get thoroughly checked out, especially if you're 40 or older. Okay. And they seem to be doing it. So I want to thank both Dr. Andrade and Dr. Stern for their input and their, just the progress that's happening. And let's enjoy ourselves tonight.
Thanks, Bob. We definitely have to listen and learn, and every year there's new interventions taking place. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Maria Ruggio, retired registered nurse and former health educator for the Martha's Vineyard branch of the NAACP. And at this time, she's going to give the Indigenous land acknowledgement, and followed by that, she's going to talk to you a little bit about the AdMeTech Foundation's mission.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, we'll read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are living in the land of the people and nature who originate from this land, have cared for at least 12,000 years, and still celebrated at home today. Although commonly referred to as Martha's Vineyard, this island has a much older name, a Wampanoag name, Noepe. Through this acknowledgement, we wish to celebrate Wampanoag culture, creativity, and perspective. We hope to honor Wampanoag perseverance in the face of colonialism invisibility, and cultural genocide. And we commit to restorative relationships and practices with the Wampanoag people of Nuepe. After all, it is important to remember that no matter where you go in what is now the United States, you are always on Indigenous land. Prostate cancer discriminates. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to die, but early detection saves lives. The survival rate with early detection is 100% in 5 years, but with late diagnosis is 28% in 5 years. The Prostate Cancer Equity Program in Massachusetts, which was established by the AdMeTech Foundation, is saving lives and delivering high-quality care for all. The program can help to find a doctor or a second opinion, to organize virtual or in-person medical visits. It addresses your questions about preventing, finding, and treating prostate cancer. Who can participate? Any man aged 40 and older who lives in Massachusetts. But the priority focus is on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men. The doctors are leading prostate cancer experts who ensure the most advanced approaches to screening, early detection, and treatment.
Thank you, Marie, for that wonderful overview. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you our esteemed president of the Martha's Vineyard chapter, well, I should say branch of the NAACP, Tony Kaufman. We're so happy to have you, President Tony.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you this evening. I've been doing some reading, of course, as I was preparing for this evening. And some of the things that Marie had read to us, I found absolutely astounding, I guess would be the right word, to hear of how many men die each day is really an eye-opening statistic that is important for us to share with our community. Now, I'm not sure if Dr. Andrade was thinking I was going to talk about the NAACP, but we are thankful for the support, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that we are extremely grateful for the support that we get from AdMeTech. So, Dr. Stern, thank you so much for the time that you spend with us and working with Dr. Andrade and Marie in supporting our men on this island, and we really appreciate that. I also would be remiss if I did not say something about Dr. Andrade. Typically, when I am doing a presentation, I start with a joke, but this is not a joking matter, so we will not be doing that this evening. She has been, as we've had conversation, and she has been a health advocate all of her life, and we are especially appreciative of all of the efforts. And she pointed out that she is the former health chair. However, she does stay on top of all of the health issues that we should be aware of, and she lets us know. So we're grateful to have her, and also grateful to have Marie as well, who keeps us well informed of things that we should be paying attention to here on the island. As I looked through the website and saw the education efforts that are being made, the research, the advocacy, I was really happy to see that. And I think along with what Bob Tankard said about men not realizing or not acknowledging how important it is to do a screening, there's also a history history there, and I think many of us are aware of the history in the Black community where health disparities occur. Not only are they unable to get the medical care that they need, but if we went back generations, we would find that they did not trust the medical system as well. So they did not go to the doctors. And I even recall as a child, health issues were not discussed. And very often were not addressed. I lost my grandfather, I believe, as I reflect now on his condition when he passed away, that this may have been what was happening to him. But no one was acknowledging that they needed to take him to the doctors and that this needed to be taken care of. So I really understand the importance of our getting the information out and making sure that it is available to any man. And I do love the name, the Manogram, because that is absolutely something to look forward to, getting that same type of diagnostic tools in order to assist men in finding out if they are in need of medical care. So again, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here, and I will pledge that we will do everything we can in the NAACP of Martha's Vineyard to make sure that this information is, the net is cast widely in order for the men on this island to get this information. So thank you very much for having me this evening.
Lorna, can I intercede just a quick minute? I want to ask a question.
Sure.
You know, in education, we oftentimes talk about situations too late.
Yeah.
Okay. This situation, I can't remember ever being talked about when I was a kid. In fact, going back to the doctors, we very seldom went to the doctor. The doctor that I knew was my mother, and she seemed like she had all the remedies. But I think it's important is this, and people always tell me, why do you always thinking about kids? I said, you know, kids grow up to be adults. I said, but if they don't grow up with the proper learning, the proper teaching, they won't take it with them as they get older. In health classes in our public school system, is this, even though we're saying 40, is this being taught to them that for something for them to be looking towards as they grow older? Because the problem lies when they get to be 39, that's not on their mind.
Exactly.
It's not be on their mind until they get to be 60 and something happens.
Yeah. Well,
So
no.
I would like to know how can you implement it in the system?
Well, you have to get permission through the school committee and superintendent to be able to have the teacher who's teaching health in the classroom to put this as a part of their curriculum. And it was suggested to our high school last year. It's not still in the curriculum as yet, but we can keep working at it, because I agree. I said this right along. This should be implemented immediately into the curriculum.
Before it's too late.
Exactly. I think we all agree about that. No question.
Absolutely. And if I may, I will add that today we sent out the MailChimp updates for NAACP on Martha's Vineyard. There is a section where we are trying to collect names of folks who are in the community who are interested in volunteering in the schools.
Yes.
We also are spending a great deal of time, and we've spent a great deal of time in the last 2 years making sure that the schools feel that we are their partners, their community partners.
Right.
So I think as we build those relationships and we put that trust, I'm using that word again because it's important.
Yeah.
Build that trust with the leaders. I think that we can make those kinds of suggestions, and if we can get into a health class or something like that, and share this kind of information, that it would go very well. So let's talk about that.
100%. And also, Reverend Huss had stated that the children will tell their dads to go and get these treatments, get detected and follow through and so on and so forth.
From the mouth of babes.
Absolutely. So, Bob, you're on to introduce John.
I'd like to introduce John Freeman with a musical presentation and testimony.
He's not going to do the musical tonight because we weren't able to get the right microphone in, but he is going to talk about his experience, and he's been with us for the last few years. So we welcome John.
You're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
you can hum if you want to.
Good thing I'm paying attention. I wish I could play the harmonica. I've got a bunch of them behind me and all over the place, and it is a joy. It's music is one of my ministries. And it's opens the door for a lot of discussions with people, and it's a blessing. I have a long story, a long survivor story with prostate cancer. I come from a family of doctors and nurses, but I was relatively naive about pushing for screening for myself and for others. And I had a lazy doctor who I think either was asked not to be a doctor or he wanted to be a rock star. So I don't know if he got his wish, but the last couple of years I was with him, we pretty much blew off cancer screening, which was a mistake, it turns out. I had no symptoms that I was aware of. Now, I'm really good at ignoring things, but I have had a new doctor who in 2010 look at my PSA score, and it was like 60. January of 2010. He went, he then thumped my prostate, and that's when I started feeling pretty much everything I should have been feeling. And 2 weeks later, my PSA had risen to 80. And at that point, we were pretty sure what was going on. It took a while to get a formal diagnosis. But in some ways, the horse was out of the barn. And if this had been 10 years before, I wouldn't be here today. Cancer had been all over my skeletal system. And then we moved here. And I cannot say enough about the infusion center here at our hospital. We have a wonderful, incredibly wonderful hospital in general from everywhere. But the infusion center, the folks there put me in touch with some folks at Mass General. And got me started on some other treatments. I was in another study with a drug I think called Zytiga. I can't pronounce its real name, but with prednisone, and that worked for about 6 years. I had to go up there every 4 weeks and then have scans every once in a while, but it held things back for a while. Where again, a few years before, I would have been out of luck. But eventually in 2020, disease was progressing. They tried another drug that for about a year, and that didn't work. And so we stopped that. And didn't do a whole lot for a while. But then around Christmas of 2022, started what became 10 cycles of docetaxel, which I'd had right off the bat 12 years before. And it did some good, but not like it did the first time. And it did wear me down and really wore me down mentally and physically, but it did some good, and it gave me some hope. The thing is, I was able to get the treatment.
Yeah,
I was able to get the treatment, and with that, there's always the chance it's going to work. Well, and somewhere in there, I did have some radium-223 infusions for a while that relieved some of the pain, at least. And then they put me on last year Pluvicto, which is kind of a relatively newly approved radioactive infusion that they had great hopes for, and didn't do a lot of good either. You know, I was one of those they thought would really help, and it didn't so much. So my disease progressed, and we're getting down to where there's not a whole lot you can do now with castration resistant. But I just finished, and here's my hospital band still. My 7th cycle of cabazitaxel, which the doctor here thought, probably won't do any good, but maybe. And it seems to be doing some good. It slowed down progression of the disease and cleared up some for now. And I feel a whole lot better than I did last year. PSA went down for a while. Now it's back up, and I've got one more treatment for sure. And then a scan to see if it's working. This is when it can go on for a bit. I think more than the 10 that they did during some of the studies. So it may work. And there's one more, I think, experimental drug that I would qualify for. But I've had a good run. I've had a really good run, and I'm thankful for that I was able to get the care I have, and have had hope. Yeah. But I've talked with guys who weren't able to get that, and some sadly are no longer with us. And I have good health insurance through the state of Michigan as a teacher that keeps our costs down to minimal. Yeah. If I hadn't had that, I wouldn't bankrupt my family. I couldn't do that. Right. And I know, that, and looking forward, unfortunately, this is something I fear our national government's going to be trying to take away from us or cut the benefits. And that cannot happen. As a man, I know what this disease can do, and to family and friends. I have many friends who have prostate cancer, and I've been able to talk to them about hope. And most were the disease was caught early on, so their prognosis is really good. Mine, I've joked for years that I've been promised I will live until the Detroit Lions win a Super Bowl, thinking I would live to see the stars wink out at the end of time. But they're doing pretty well. Yeah. So and my medical choices, running down, but there's always the hope that they've got more things coming down the line. And once things stop working, I'll be around for a while, and maybe something else will come. But I like to think that things have been learned by the medical, doctors and nurses and researchers, that they've had a chance to, while working with me, found some things that worked and didn't work, and that these will help other men. I know my blood was taken to see how cancer travels throughout the body, and that makes me feel good too. Good. But and so I've had a good run. I hope I'll be around for a while, and some other things will come. But it's important for this kind of care to be available to every man who needs it. Yes. And for their families to have that hope. Our bodies have a clock. It's like, if I can find it here, I was going to use this for a sermon at one time. It's sometime, things are going to run out. And we don't know when that will be, but sometimes we can do things to slow that down a little bit.
Your attitude
is so
good.
A
big plus. It's a big plus.
I put myself in God's hands, and
that's right. That's right. It's a big plus.
That matters.
That's right.
When it's time, I don't fear death.
Yes.
No.
I fear a bad dying, like most people, but I don't fear death. And with my ADHD, I'm able to ignore a lot of things. But I hope and I pray that more men will have access to the excellent care I've received.
Yeah.
Through education, perhaps, through the actual services, through financial help, and their families will be able to share in that hope.
Amen.
And so I wish the AdMeTech and all those working here on the Vineyard well. And while this cancer is going to be around, hopefully we can help more men and their families more and more and more, and improve the quality of life of the men and their families.
Yes. John, we thank you so much for your testimony.
Beautiful.
And the hope and all the things that you've gone throughout this lifespan with this disease, and giving more hope to others. There's so many men out there that just to build up a trusting factor is a major issue. Once the trust is there, then we have to get them into the actual treatment process and then give them the furthering guidance so that they have someone that they can hold on to as they do this walk, because we know it's not an easy walk. And we want to thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful sharing. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Happy trails.
Thanks. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Ronnie DeLuz, who is a naturopathic doctor who's been here on Martha's Vineyard delivering wonderful naturopathic remedies to all of our individuals who seek out her help on cancer. And as I said, she's been here for 30 years, and hopefully she'll keep staying here and helping as many people as possible. So Dr. DeLuz.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello, and welcome back this year.
Wow, I feel like this is a subject that's very dear to my heart because, I have a lot of men in my family, and those men have a lot of men friends. So in the course of a year, I will end up with like 2 or 3 prostate cancer patients. And we know that it's the second leading cause of death in American men today. And I believe that we are changing the trajectory of how health works. It's the best radiation. They have hormone therapy now. They have immune targeting, all of that, even surgery and lymph node dissection. But I want to talk to you about holistic remedies because it's growing so fast. And the metabolic therapy will go hand in hand with the traditional therapy. Cancer is increasing at an all-time high. If we don't understand that, and the education should be there, because when you do some preventative with this allopathic, the first thing we have to realize is that our environment increases the rate of cancer. And then the other thing that's happening is the hormones in our bodies are causing more of the increase. And then I have some of them that is exposed to not just processed food, but ultra processed food. With all of the things that's going on that you're trying to treat the cancer with, we are still chemicalizing our bodies, which is what is causing a dysregulation that's linked to the growth being not slowed down the way it should be. I'm always teaching all of my clients about what makes cancer grow. So we know that cancer loves glucose. So we try to put everybody on a low carbohydrate diet, high fat, moderate protein. But you got to follow up with this one more thing. A lot of times what happens when people go on a low carb diet, high fat, moderate protein, they still forget about the minerals that they need. For an example, I have a lot of metabolic doctors who are working with oncologists, and because they don't trust, first of all, a lot of oncologists and allopathic doctors don't trust the patient. So what they'll start to do is they'll put you on metformin to slow down the sugar, and then they'll put you on a cholesterol drug to slow down the vascular flow. But I can teach people how to do that without some of those drugs because, again, what happens is a lot of cancer deaths are linked to drug resistance. Now, that makes sense, but where's the education? And we've been talking about the education. And I agree with you, Tony. I agree with you, Dr. Tankard, The education has to be there in the schools to start these young men from taking in so much of these chemicals. So by the time they are 30 and 40 years old, by the way, prostate cancer is in the younger. I've never seen it like this in the 40s. We always talk about the 50s and the 60s, right? But cancer is in the 40s now. We can treat it by giving people high doses of what we call immune therapy food. Like one of the things I was talking about, transfer factor last week in a class. Transfer factor is something that's doesn't have a lot of side effects. It helps our immune system. But then we forget about all the other herbs that our grandmother used to talk about, right? We forget about the garlic, and we talk milk thistle and feverfew and echinacea and ginger and mushrooms and dark greens and beetroot. That is the most perfect food that you should have, along with real good fats, not just any fat. Linseed, flaxseed oil. These are some of the oils that you want to increase. Fish oils, omega-3. And then you have good quality protein along with good quality protein smoothies. And don't forget the greens. A lot of people underestimate the value of dark greens. But I can tell you, my grandmother died over 100 years old, and that's all she used to feed us was different greens every single day. And I know that's the reason why she lived to be 100 and something years old with all her teeth in her mouth. Is because of the nutrition back then did not have the chemicals in it like we have in it today. So we have to learn about that. We got to stop opening up a can or a bottle or a bag. I can go on and on, Doctor. So I'm sorry, Dr. Lorna.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Go ahead.
Okay. So, cancer is my favorite subject only because I come from a chronic disease background, and back in the day, I specialized in the high fives, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high weight, which is unfortunately is a disease now, high sugar, and high stress, a recipe for death. But all of those high fives, every one of them can increase the rate of cancer. And we're now finding that cancer, at least they're having one of those high fives. It's cancer and high blood pressure, or it's cancer and high obesity, or it's cancer and high sugar. And those things are preventable. Every single one of those high fives are preventable. And the education has to start in the school. It's insane to have a 20-year-old, 25-year-old with high blood pressure, which I just saw last week. That's insane. Mm-hmm. High blood pressure used to be an elderly person's disease. Now we've got our kids, our teenager with the high fives. And now let me start talking about obesity, because I can go in a mall or somewhere in a city and 1 out of every 5 men will be obese. And these are things that can be preventable. Until we do that, we're not going to see the rate of cancer decrease. We have the cures, but we're not going to be able to prevent them until we teach it in our schools to our young people how to prevent cancer. And I think that, as an educator and as a healer, and I travel a lot all around the country, and I travel a lot out of the country. And one of the things that I do see is that we are the worst in this country. Even in Africa, I can tell you some of the people that are a lot older than me, and I'm almost 70, will say, now, what's cancer again? So I think, again, the education of teaching people what to eat, what not to eat, also body, mind, and spirit. I don't know if someone said that. No, we were just talking. He was talking about, how we think he has such a great attitude. And thank you, because that goes a long way with it. We are what we feel. We are what we think. If you think you're going to die, you are. So we have to practice the 3 principles. And that means God gave us free will to be able to think like he wants us to think. Everything's going to be okay. Just listen to God, do all the right things, and never, ever give up with your words.
Ronnie, that was fabulous. And I'm sure you've given a lot of food for thought to many people who are listening here this evening. And we appreciate all of your great wisdom, your knowledge, and people can reach you. If they need you, 209 Franklin Street in Vineyard Haven on Martha's Vineyard. Dr. Ronnie DeLuz.
Thank you.
Okay, Bob, you're going to introduce our favorite doctor, Dr. Stern.
You know, one thing, it was amazing about, well, it must have been 4 years ago when I first met Dr. Stern.
Yeah.
And we did the show on Tank Talk, and I became more aware of prostate cancer and how it needed to be treated and how many African American men didn't get tested or didn't know much about it.
Right.
And after listening to Dr. Stern and a person that was from another country that came to this country,
right,
and to educate us on what it was like and what it was important, and then to start the foundation that she has started. It's unbelievable. So without any further ado, my buddy,
our buddy,
Dr. Van Stern, you're on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I apologize. My internet is unstable. If I drop off, it's not because I ran away. It's because my internet is not working properly. I actually remember the first time I met you, Dr. Tankard. Dr. Andrade took me to your television show, and it was mid-September 2018.
Right.
So it's been more than 6 years.
That's right.
So thank you so much for your partnership, and thank you so much for helping us to get the word out that is critical to get out. I am coming from a country, from Ukraine, when it was still a part of Soviet Union. I left in 1979, 45 years ago. And although it was a system that until today gives me the creeps, the communist system, it was a horrible country to live in. And yet, by the same token, healthcare was not actually what it should be, but it was equal for everyone. So when I came to this country, it was my actually foreign background that had sent me in a bit of, I saw the disparities in the quality of care delivered to different people. And when I saw this disparity, it was so shocking to me that it became a lifelong passion to do something about it. So that's why what you probably heard behind our first conversation. And unfortunately, prostate cancer is a leading health disparity. If we look for health at healthcare for men, there is only one other disease that creates this kind of disparity in loss, and diabetes. If we look at the entire healthcare, we will see that there are only two other healthcare areas that are comparable to prostate cancer in disparities: is maternal health and maternal mortality and infant mortality. In maternal health, infant health, diabetes have had a lot of coverage. Prostate cancer has not. And it is actually largely for that reason that we created AdMeTech Foundation to address this issue. My presentation will be in a video because of the internet instabilities and other technical problems. We learned to put my presentation in a video. And Emily, would you like to start the video? I would like to thank also Thomas Satam and Emily who are here today from AdMeTech. My name is Vineyard Stern. I'm a physician and president of the AdMeTech Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading regional, national, and global programs in prostate cancer education, research, public awareness, advocacy, and clinical care equity. My gratitude to the Martha's Vineyard and ACP for a long-standing partnership that made this event possible. The focus of my talk is on the AdMeTech Foundation history for prostate cancer programs established to lead and implement the cutting-edge advances in patient care, to bring them to all Massachusetts men, and eliminate health disparities. AdMeTech's ongoing statewide program in prostate cancer created a Massachusetts model of national leadership in public awareness, medical education, research, and health equity. Our primary focus is on high-risk men, Black, Hispanic, and Latino individuals, and all men with family history of prostate cancer and increasing age, 50 and older. We are grateful to the Martha's Vineyard delegation to the Massachusetts State House, particularly Senator Julian Serra and Senator-elect Dylan Fernandez, who have championed our programs and made them possible. History of AdMeTech Foundation and its programs is closely tied with my own professional and personal history. Since 1990, I was head of Diagnostic Imaging Research Branch at the National Cancer Institute. In this position, I was leading development of national and international policy and related strategy and programs for the National Institutes of Health, NIH, Department of Health and Human Services, and U.S. federal government. Our priority focus was on the advancement of breast cancer imaging. We created digital mammography, breast MRI, advanced ultrasound, and molecular imaging for improved patient care. We also work on teleradiology for image transmission so that we could bring world-class expertise to underserved, rural, and remote communities. As of early 90s, most women had blind biopsies. Precision imaging made it possible to see where suspected tumors were located and develop stereotactic biopsies where biopsy needles are guided with precision to suspicious areas. As of early 90s, women with breast cancer have radical surgery or mastectomy, where the entire breast is removed. A procedure performed in operating rooms causing physical, emotional trauma, pain, suffering, and deformity of women's bodies. Precision imaging made it possible to proceed with minimally invasive surgery or lumpectomy, where we identify and remove only a part of the breast tissue containing tumors. These minimally invasive procedures are performed in outpatient clinics with minimal complications, pain, suffering, and costs. As of early 90s, many women, particularly Black women, were diagnosed with breast cancer in more advanced stages and are more likely to die. With digital mammography and MRI, all women are more likely to have early detection of breast cancer, critical for saving lives. Today, Black women have a nearly equal chance of dying compared to white women in many communities, particularly in a state like Massachusetts with its universal access to care. In 1996, while our breast cancer programs were well underway at NCI and NIH, I brought together the key leaders of government, medicine, and industry to outline new strategic priorities. This expert recommended prostate cancer as the next priority focus for several reasons. First, prostate cancer is the most common major internal cancer among men. It is as common among men as breast cancer is among women. Prostate cancer strikes 1 in 8 men. Breast cancer strikes 1 in 8 women. Second, prostate cancer screening with blood test PSA was successful in identifying men at risk of losing their lives and in reducing mortality, or the likelihood of men dying of prostate cancer. However, men did not have accurate diagnostic tools that would make it possible to sort out if an abnormal screening result is due to false alarm or due to a life-threatening prostate cancer. With no accurate diagnostic tools, many men had either insufficient diagnosis and treatment of aggressive prostate cancer with dangerous consequences, or on the other side of the spectrum, they had overdiagnosis and overtreatment of benign and harmless prostate cancer
leading to unnecessary invasive procedures with related life-altering complications and costs. Third, treatment of prostate cancer, such as radical surgery, was highly invasive and traumatic, leading to a prolonged hospitalization, difficult recovery, and the unacceptable level of life-altering complications. Fourth, prostate cancer is a leading health disparity. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to die compared to white men. We did not see this level of disparities in breast cancer even early in my career, in the 80s and 90s. Finally, in sharp contrast to women with breast cancer, men did not have accurate imaging, leading to blind biopsies and treatment. Our work in breast cancer imaging created a blueprint for transforming prostate cancer care and eliminating health disparities. And about the same time in 1996, I had a personal experience that left me shaken. A leading clinical expert in Massachusetts, chosen by me, saw my father and determined that he had a benign and common prostate condition. However, when my dad had an invasive procedure for this condition, he was found to have prostate cancer. I was shocked that a leading expert in a world-leading hospital did not have diagnostic tools to make accurate clinical diagnosis. This experience transformed my professional interest in prostate cancer into a personal mission to improve early detection and treatment of this disease for all men and to reduce health disparities in Black men. If we made the difference for women with breast cancer, we could make a difference for men with prostate cancer. I organized other leaders of medicine, and we approached NCI and NIH, key leaders, in a hope to see an increased government investment in prostate cancer research. Unfortunately, in spite of our joint track record and a year-long effort, we did not succeed in convincing federal government. Consequently, by late 1997, we established AdMeTech Foundation with the mission to end blind patient care and create the future of image-guided, minimally invasive diagnosis and treatment. Since 1997, we have been leading a pioneering research that resulted in creating precision MRI, molecular imaging, and other diagnostic tools that transformed prostate cancer. In 2005, we initiated a large-scale national public awareness campaign, Where is Manogram? Prostate imaging for men. In 2009, we had the first annual Prostate Cancer Awareness Day in Massachusetts State House and proceeded to create a new model in public education. In 2011, as the result of our advocacy, Massachusetts legislature had set up a historic precedent by recognizing prostate cancer as the central healthcare problem in men, a leading health disparity, and public health priority. By 2013, again per our advocacy, Massachusetts legislature established a prostate cancer program. It started as a research project that was seminal in making MRI a standard in patient care. Since 2014, we expanded our efforts in public awareness, reaching countless men. At that time, Plymouth County had the state's highest mortality in Black men and the highest disparities. Black men in Brockton and Plymouth County were 2.7 times more likely to die compared to white men. We joined efforts with Brockton NAACP and Good Samaritan Medical Center. Under leadership of Steve Bernard, Phyllis Ellis, Leona Martin, and Janet Trask, Brockton NAACP ensured a broad community engagement, mayor's office, city council, local media, and multiple local community organizations. By 2021, we had seen a significant reduction of overall prostate cancer mortality for all men in Plymouth County, but a particularly great impact on Black men. Since that time, we have seen a significant drop in health disparities in Plymouth County, while health disparities at the state level have not really changed. Today, Black men's chance of dying of prostate cancer compared to white men in Plymouth County dropped by more than 50%. In 2016, we established Global Summit for Medical Education with the goal to integrate imaging with other emerging diagnostics, including molecular and genetic testing, to ensure precision care that was tailored for individual men. Similar to breast cancer, precision imaging paved the way for image-guided, minimally invasive treatment for prostate cancer. Similar to lumpectomy, these minimally invasive procedures can be performed in outpatient clinics with minimal complications, discomfort, and cost. Several years ago, in 2021, we created Prostate Cancer Equity Program to deliver high-quality, world-class patient care to all men in Massachusetts, with the priority focus on Black men. The centerpiece of AdMeTech's medical education is annual Global Summit on Precision Diagnosis and Treatment of Prostate Cancer. Our summit has been recognized as a seminal event in shaping the state-of-the-art and future vision for patient care. Our summit brings together the key international experts representing every clinical expertise to review the best emerging clinical practices and research priorities. There is not a corner of the world that has not been represented at our summit. The latest 8th annual conference took place only a few weeks ago. This educational event showed rapid advances in patient care. In screening, our summit supports clinical practice guidelines recommended by the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, consisting of over 28 cancer hospitals and the leading experts. PSA blood test used for screening of prostate cancer has been more successful in reducing mortality or the loss of life than any other cancer screening tool available today. High-risk men, including Black men and individuals with family history of prostate cancer, are recommended to initiate discussions with their doctors about screening with PSA blood test at the age of 40. Other men, or average risk men, should start screening at the age of 45. The first, or what we call baseline, screening test in younger men is important for identifying men at risk of lethal prostate cancer long term, over 10 and more years. In diagnostics, we have seen emergence of very accurate, non-invasive tools such as blood, urine, and saliva analysis for molecular and genetic alterations, and advanced imaging, including ultrasound, MRI, and molecular imaging. These non-invasive diagnostics highlighted the importance of PSA screening even further and shifted past concerns about screening into a dustbin of history. For example, these diagnostics can determine if an individual man with abnormal PSA has increased risk of life-threatening, rapidly progressing prostate cancer. It needs close monitoring to improve early detection, critical for saving lives. Or if a man with abnormal PSA has a false alarm and can avoid unnecessary procedures such as biopsies and treatment. If a man is diagnosed with prostate cancer, these precision diagnostics enable a personalized care for each man, including decisions if this man needs only a careful observation, or we call it active surveillance, or minimally invasive interventions that are equivalent to lumpectomy in women when only a part of the prostate is removed, or radical treatment of the entire prostate with and without systemic drugs. High-risk individuals, including Black men, carry higher risk of both mortality, loss of life, and unnecessary procedures. Consequently, it is critical for them to have access to precision diagnostics that determine for each individual man if he should or should not have invasive biopsy and treatment, and what options in clinical care are best for him. Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, compared to white men, Black men are less likely to have precision diagnostics, such as advanced imaging or genetic testing, or undergo life-saving treatment. Prior to undergoing invasive biopsy and treatment, it is important for each man to discuss with his doctor if any non-invasive testing is available to determine if these invasive procedures are actually needed, and if yes, what kind of options would work best for him. It was interesting to hear at this year's summit from multiple experts that of all diagnostic tools, imaging has become the game changer for men, resulting in improved diagnosis and treatment of life-threatening prostate cancer, while decreasing unnecessary biopsies and treatment. For example, in this slide, MRI shows prostate cancer lesions and guides biopsy needles with precision. AdMeTech has led research and development and large-scale implementation of prostate MRI since 1997. In 2013, Massachusetts legislature funded clinical trial of prostate MRI, which produced groundbreaking data that were presented at Summit 2016. By early 2017, about 6 months after our first summit, MRI was recommended as the new standard of patient care prior to biopsy and treatment. Our summit highlighted the importance of MRI in Black men who are likely to have lesions in the front part of the prostate that are difficult to find by physical exam or standard line biopsies performed without accurate imaging. In men with prostate cancer, there are two pillars of the current diagnostics, MRI and genetics. While MRI shows cancer location and local spread or stage, genetic analysis of cancer tissue reveals underlying biology and probability of cancer progression. Emerging data indicate the importance of genetic testing for many high-risk men, Black men in particular, for selecting the most effective treatment. With this precision diagnostics, we can now accurately determine if each individual has a slow-growing, so-called harmless disease and needs only a careful observation or minimally invasive procedures, or an aggressive prostate cancer requiring immediate life-saving intervention. More recently, molecular imaging has been shown to play an important role in staging of prostate cancer, including presence of metastatic spread and detecting return of prostate cancer after treatment. For example, molecular imaging with PSMA has become available at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute since August 2021. On the left, right here, we can see a traditional bone scan showing no metastatic spread. However, on the right, molecular imaging shows multiple areas of metastatic spread. This information is important for selecting the most appropriate treatment. We are proud to have led research and development of molecular imaging since 1997. Our summit concluded that equal access to high-quality care is the key factor in improving patient outcomes for all men and eliminating health disparities in Black men. It is particularly important now with so many novel diagnostic and therapeutic approaches ensuring high-quality, personalized patient care. Without equal access to these advances in patient care, we will see a widening gap in health inequalities, including survival and mortality. Consequently, AdMeTech launched Prostate Cancer Equity Program in Massachusetts in collaboration with Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical institutions, with the mission to save lives and deliver high-quality care. Supporting organizations include Latino Health Insurance Program and multiple branches of NACP located across the state. Any Massachusetts man age 40 and older can take part in this program. Our priority focus is on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men who are at higher risk of prostate cancer, delayed diagnosis, poor quality care, and death. Our goal is to expedite access to leading experts who use the most advanced approaches to screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today, and support men every step of their medical journey. This program helps men to find an expert for the initial or a second opinion, in-person or virtual visits. We believe that in Massachusetts, with its leading hospitals and universal access to care, our prostate cancer equity program will be able to eliminate health disparities, particularly when combined with our large-scale public education and awareness campaign. Experts of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program can address any questions about prostate health, from assessing an individual healthy man's personal risk of cancer to informing men about all available options before and after screening, biopsies, and treatment. We are committed to supporting men every step of their medical journey to ensure that no man is left behind or struggling alone. To achieve this goal, we created a streamlined VIP-style process of patient referral and care, reflecting how doctors involved in our program take care of our families and friends. This process consists of three main components. First, AdMeTech Foundation team members collect basic information and match individual patient needs with the appropriate state experts for clinical care. Second, a clinical organization designates a patient navigator to expedite a medical visit and related needs, including scheduling, registration, transportation, and financial assistance if needed. Third, if an expert recommends any next steps, AdMeTech's team and patient navigator work with men on the appropriate follow-up, such as testing or treatment. Emma Coyer serves as a manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program. Emma is assisted by Erin Roberts, program coordinator, Craig McClay, patient educator, and other members of the AdMeTech team. When you come to us, Emma will work with you, our team, Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical partners to expedite medical visits and address any needs you may have. Our team may not be able to right every social wrong that cannot be resolved by federal or state government, or provide perfect solutions for every man. And yet, we are committed to doing our best and making sure men are not left behind or struggling alone. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact Emma by phone 617-523-3535 or by email coordinator@admetechfoundation.org. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much again for your attention, Dr. Andrade. Thank you for the opportunity to present that. We actually asked Ken Reeves, president of Cambridge NACP, to share his experience with Prostate Cancer Equity Program and how it made a difference for him. Emily, can you please play his video?
My name is Kenneth Reeves. I am the president of the Cambridge branch of the NAACP, as well as the former mayor of the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. My intention is to say a word about the AdMeTech Foundation and its offerings and benefits, particularly to communities of color and particularly to Black men facing issues with respect to prostate cancer. I would say that in Cambridge, we've been in the men of color health business for more than 25 years. And so we have a men of color health outreach. However, I think we've become much more knowledgeable about ways in which we can assist the men of our city. And we particularly have become much more knowledgeable about prostate cancer and its impact on particularly Black men, who are 5 times as likely to be affected by prostate cancer than white men. So that being the case, and I've dealt with prostate cancer theoretically, and then 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I had my own journey. And after diagnosis, I was able to hear what my treatment options were. And I chose something called CyberKnife, which is a 6-day treatment where you go every day for about an hour. There is a laser approach to the cancer. And after that, I was able to be clear for almost 2 years. And then suddenly my PSA, or prostate specific antigen number, kept going up, and no one could figure out why. And I had many MRIs and other tests. And that's when I met AdMeTech, because I was describing this to a friend, and they said, "It sounds like you're lost in the maze of, what to do when your numbers are inexplicable." So I was in touch with our Dr. Stern, and basically I had to tell her there is a test that they don't have in Boston that I need to have. It's an imaging test. It's very advanced. It's in Europe, but not yet approved by the FDA. And she said, "I'll get it for you." And she was able to arrange it through Sloan Kettering in New York. So after much red tape and bureaucracy, I was able to get that imaging test, and it did find where the prostate cancer had moved to an area around my lung, which my doctor, who's a very important, famous department head at Dana-Farber, said he had only seen one case in his career, so he was pretty sure it wasn't to the lung. So I then learned that, the physicians are great, but they're not God. So I called him and said, "Guess what? I'm number 2. And after being number 2, I still have had to have these various questions that I don't feel competent to answer about what next steps should be in my medical care. So while I have a wonderful team at Dana-Farber, who Dr. Stern led me to, but even in all that wonderfulness, there are questions that I don't feel competent to answer. So she just 2 days ago helped me to answer 2 great big questions. So I think this is timely for you to hear that. And my big questions were whether I should participate in a particular study, which would, I'm now on a very expensive pill that has my PSA number at 00000. So this is $16,000 a month. And the question asked of me by my doctor is would I would participate in a trial which would essentially stop this pill, let the cancer come back, and then observe what that does with respect to the testosterone level. And the doctor also said, well, you know, we don't get many Black men in trials, so we'd like to get you. It would be important if you were to say yes. And so this was hanging over my head like a cloud. I couldn't decide because I want to do whatever I can do that will be helpful to both science and to prostate cancer with respect to Black men, because self-interest is a wonderful motivator. Her immediate reaction was, not for you, because you had one of only 2 cases with your particular doctor. The experience with people like you for such a trial is too small. And so you should be very thankful to the doctor, but it's not for you. Thank God for having a foundation that's devoted to navigating men of color through the maze of prostate cancer to be able, with a scientific point of view, give that kind of direction and consultation. So I must say that is great.
I would never forget when Ken Reeves came to me completely lost, literally, in his healthcare needs, and he expressed concern to me that he has these different doctors at different clinical institutions, and nobody seems to be in a driving seat. So we made sure that in addition to referring him to molecular imaging test, PSMA test, that at that time was not available in Massachusetts at all, that he would get this test. But in addition, we build infrastructure of support for him, where a leading prostate cancer expert was in a driving seat in his care. This physician worked with me to make sure Ken Reeves got this molecular imaging test at Memorial Sloan Kettering, because nobody in Massachusetts can arrange that. And then he put together a multidisciplinary team that is taking care of Mr. Reeves today at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So that's what our program does. President Kaufman, I'm happy to see that Ken Reeves is one of your friends. He became a great friend for me and many other people. And right now he is, and he offered actually to share his experience generously, so that in a hope that it will help other men to get a taste of what our prostate cancer equity program offers. I will be happy to address any questions, and once again, I apologize in advance if my internet will bump me off.
So far, so good,
Any
Dr.
questions
Stern.
about prostate cancer? Any questions about our prostate cancer equity program? I'll be happy to address them.
You have to unmute yourselves so she can hear you. I just wanted to say that I've known Ken Reeves for over 25 years, and to hear him give this testimony was heartfelt, really. And to know that you were able to collaborate with the team and set him up for the right track, because there again is hope and trust. And when other men can see that, we need to have him doing that testifying on local news throughout the United States, because the men need to hear what he had to say. And also what John Freeman has had to say with us. Men need to hear that. So if there's any way that can be arranged, we should get it done. Tony has her hand up.
President Kaufman?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And as I put into the chat, Ken, I haven't known him the length of time that you have known him, Dr. Andrade, but he is one of my favorite folks.
Yeah.
And I too felt something to see him on the screen and to have him share his story. But one of the things that really resonated with me was the fact that there was something that was offered to him, and you said, not for you. And the fact that he had someone who could advise him in that medical journey is just invaluable. So thank you very much for turning him in the right direction to get the care that he needed.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Tankard, if you would want me and perhaps Ken Reeves to come on your show, and for me to talk about prostate cancer equity program, and for Ken Reeves to share his story at any time that is convenient for you, we will be happy to do that.
I would love to have that happen.
I would love to have December it happen. Or in early 2025.
Yep. So I would love to have it happen.
That would be great.
We can make that happen easy.
That men in Martha's Vineyard, men in Martha's Vineyard will be able to hear that story.
Yes.
We can
Right.
talk about our
Yes.
programs a lot, but there is nothing, in my judgment, like a real man, particularly a respected leader, who can share his story.
Amen.
Absolutely.
We can make that happen anytime.
Yes. Be great.
Mr. Lewis,
Oh, Derek,
I think he put something in the chat.
can you take yourself off? Hey, there he is.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful. Speak up.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Hopefully everybody's having a great
Yeah.
evening. And this is just a wealth of information for me because I'm here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, so now that I live in Georgia, I'm not able to take advantage of this program, apparently. But I was treated for early stage prostate cancer about a year and a half ago, and it went very well. My question is, after having successful treatment for early stages of prostate cancer, what is the probability of it returning? What should I be looking for, from at this point? What should I be doing? Is there
Absolutely.
anything, that I need to be aware of? Because I believe the medical system in Massachusetts is better than the medical system here in Georgia. So that's why I'm tuning in.
Thank you so much for joining us from Georgia. If your treatment was successful, your prostate cancer is not going to come back. But you have, particularly within the first 5 years after treatment, what you need to be clear about, what you need to ask your doctors, what is the level of PSA? Is PSA staying low? If PSA is rising? Because if PSA blood test level is rising, this may be an indication that cancer may be coming back. And unfortunately, about roughly 30% of men have a probability of their prostate cancer coming back if it was not a successful treatment. So particularly within the first 5 years, you need to be very, very clear with your physician, with your urologist or medical oncologist, whoever, radiation oncologist who is taking care of you. Is your PSA staying low?
It
as
is.
it was right after treatment?
They've been
Great.
monitoring.
As long as PSA is staying low,
Okay.
Mr. Lewis, the probability of prostate cancer coming back is exceedingly ridiculously low.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's encouraging because that was one of the scariest things I ever had to go through was
Of course.
radiation treatment, So,
Yeah.
but, I was glad that I did because, there was, they gave me my options and, they said that I could, have done the, I did two. I did the radiation therapy and then it was the hormone shot that they gave me that basically, I guess it took away my testosterone for a certain period of time. It seemed to work. The doctors were very happy with it. The PSA is extremely low and they were just going to monitor it for for I don't know how long, but every 6 months they just say, hey.
This sounds indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was my question.
Mr. Lewis, although our infrastructure support is for men in Massachusetts, we also are working very, very closely with my old colleagues at the National Cancer Institute. It's a federal facility that serves American citizens free, including travel. So in case you would ever want to get a second opinion at the National Cancer Institute, which is a world-leading facility in clinical care and research, we'll be happy to help.
I would love to get that information.
Absolutely. And Dr. Andrade knows how to reach us. And you can always call me at our number 617-523-3535. But in any case, Dr. Andrade can connect you with me by email.
And I will do that, Derek. Derek's like a little brother to me. He grew up, his house was in the back of our house on the next street over in Boston. So I kind of I want to look out for him to make sure he stays well. So I'll make sure he does a follow-up with that for a second opinion.
Absolutely. It's it's a absolutely outstanding group at the National Cancer Institute.
Okay.
And they have the best diagnostics, the best therapeutics imaginable anywhere in the world. And they will be happy to take care of you, including free travel and
Thank
free
you.
hotel if
Oh,
needed.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will definitely follow up. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Dr. Andrade, back to you.
Okay, well, we're close to the bewitching hour. I just wanted to say that we've all come together. We listen, we learn. There's so much more that we can learn. I appreciate each one of you who presented this evening, and God bless Dr. Faye Stern for coming. For God, she is God's angel here on this earth, taking care of our men. And to come all the way from Ukraine to be able to be blessed with the knowledge, wisdom, and the outreach that she does is such a blessing. And so I just want to thank God for her and the whole staff, Thomas and Emily and so many others on that staff. God bless you all. I praise you all the time, all the good work that you're doing. And so many of our men have died. And when I hear like Ken and Derek and John give their testimony, it's just heartful for me. So I want to say thank you, and we leave you with hope and understanding and more knowledge to gain. God bless each one.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.